The collapse of the Velayati Faki system's apex creates a power vacuum the Middle East hasn't seen since. 1979. Operation Epic Fury represents a fundamental shift from containment to direct decapitation of the IRGC leadership. Without a designated successor, the Assembly of Experts is now in a race against the IRGC's own consolidation efforts. The loss of Khamenei is not just a loss for Iran, but a total disruption of the axis of resistance logistics. Geopolitical risk models are being rewritten tonight. The gray zone conflict has officially turned into a hot war. Trump's massive and ongoing rhetoric suggests this isn't a one-off strike, but a campaign for structural regime change. The coordination between IAF and US CENTCOM in these strikes shows an unprecedented level of tactical integration. Tehran's strategic patience has been forcibly ended. The question is, if the remaining leadership can even coordinate a response. This is a watershed moment for the global order, signaling the end of the post-JCPOA diplomatic era. The assassination of a head of state via airstrike sets a new, albeit controversial, precedent in modern warfare. Iran's internal stability is now the biggest variable in the Middle East security equation. Fareed Zakaria's assessment of this as a watershed moment is an understatement. It's a seismic shift. The armada mentioned in January wasn't a bluff. It was the logistical setup for this exact weekend. We are seeing the limits of proxy warfare when the patron state itself comes under direct, overwhelming fire. A multi-city strike targeting nuclear and command hubs simultaneously is a masterpiece of electronic warfare. Will the IRGC transition into a military junta, or will the clergy maintain a figurehead leader? The timing of these strikes during a period of domestic unrest was clearly calculated to maximize internal pressure. Oil markets are pricing in a worst-case scenario for the Strait of Hormuz tonight. Brent crude hitting triple digits is almost a certainty if Iran follows through on its revenge threats against Gulf infrastructure. Dubai Airport's reported damage is already causing a cascade of cancellations in global logistics hubs. Investors are fleeing to safe haven assets. Gold and U.S. Treasuries are seeing massive inflows in after-hours trading. The destruction of Iran's missile industry could lead to a long-term shift in regional defense spending. A massive and ongoing campaign means the defense sector, Lockheed, Raytheon, will see sustained demand. Crypto markets are acting as a real-time sentiment gauge for regional instability. If the Persian Gulf becomes a no-go zone, global inflation will see a second, more violent peak in 2026. The disruption of Qatar's air bases and Qatar Airways routes will paralyze east-west travel. Market volatility index VIX is expected to gap up at Monday's open. Construction of Iran if regime change occurs could be the largest infrastructure project of the decade. Sanctions on Iran are now effectively moot. The economy of war has taken over. Insurance premiums for shipping in the Gulf of Oman have just tripled. Is the U.S. prepared for the domestic inflationary pressure of a prolonged Middle East war? The impact on global semiconductor supply chains via regional logistics cannot be overlooked. Central banks will likely have to coordinate to prevent a liquidity crunch in the Middle East. Energy security is now the primary driver of EU foreign policy for the foreseeable future. The images of people celebrating in Tehran suggest the fear wall has finally cracked. While the leadership falls, we must remain vigilant about the 5,000 protesters already killed this year. Is this the beginning of the Zendegi, Azadi woman, life, freedom, revolution's final chapter? Reports of a strike hitting a girls' school in southern Iran are devastating and must be independently verified. The Iranian people deserve a future free from both theocracy and indiscriminate foreign bombing. We are seeing a historic irony, a foreign strike acting as a catalyst for a domestic uprising. Humanitarian corridors must be established immediately as the campaign continues. Tearing down posters of the supreme leader in the streets is a symbolic end to the 1979 era. The Death to America chants are being replaced by freedom chants in verified social media clips. Internet blackouts in Iran are making it difficult to gauge the true scale of the civilian casualty toll. The 40-day mourning period declared by the regime will likely be a 40-day struggle for control of the streets. Diaspora Iranians are celebrating, but those on the ground face the reality of falling missiles. Civilian protected spaces in Tel Aviv and Tehran are both being put to the ultimate test tonight. The brainwash comment by the Press TV anchor reflects the deep ideological divide remaining in society. Protecting the rights of ethnic minorities Kurds, Baluchis during this transition is critical for peace. A democratic Iran would be the single greatest victory for human rights in the 21st century. We cannot ignore the plight of the orphans mentioned in the state TV broadcast. War creates only loss. The UN Security Council emergency meeting will likely be a deadlock between the West and China-Russia. Oman's role as a mediator is officially over. There is no longer a middle ground to stand on. Netanyahu's many signs comment was a calculated piece of psychological warfare before the official confirmation. The U.S. ambassador's warning to citizens in Israel underscores the high probability of a massive missile retaliation. Is the Armada capable of intercepting a saturation attack of thousands of drones? Russia and China's condemnation of the unprovoked aggression signals a deepening of the new Cold War. The Cobra Committee meeting in the UK suggests the British are bracing for domestic security threats. Israel's state of emergency and underground hospitals show they were fully prepared for the blowback. The targeting of the Pasteur district, the heart of the regime, shows the precision of modern intelligence. Was the June 2025 strike just a dress rehearsal for this weekend's operation? General Petraeus's point on stunning arrogance hits home. The regime overestimated its own invincibility. The transition team Pezeshkian Ajay faces an impossible task: satisfy the IRGC or the street. Cyber attacks on Iran's state-run media are clearly part of the multi-domain operation. Saudi Arabia's condemnation of Iranian aggression, referring to the drone barrage, shows a shift in regional alliances. The 47 years of animosity have culminated in a 48-hour total reset. Diplomacy is dead. We are now in the kinetic phase of regime change. Intelligence sharing between the U.S. and Israel on Khamenei's location was the golden tip of the operation. The Press TV anchor breaking down in tears will become the defining image of the regime's end. Social media is the new front line. Geolocated videos are moving faster than official newswires. John Bolton's "deserved it" comment is already trending and fueling the fire on both sides. The contrast between the weeping anchor and the dancing citizens is a masterclass in societal polarization. Viral videos of sirens in Tel Aviv are creating a sense of global panic in real time. Is Operation Epic Fury the most live-streamed war in human history? The Truth Social post by Trump has essentially bypassed traditional diplomatic channels to announce a global shift. Anti-regime activist accounts are the primary source of truth right now for those inside Iran. The Death to America chants on one side and freedom chants on the other represent a clash of civilizations. Fact-checkers are struggling to keep up with the damaged Dubai airport and Tehran explosions footage. Public sentiment in the U.S. is split. Many fear another forever war, while others see it as a necessary evil. The crying presenter versus fireworks in Tehran, one event, two entirely different worlds. Geopolitical influencers are gaining more traction than traditional news anchors in this crisis. The hashtag Khamenei dead is the fastest growing trend in the history of the platform. CNN's geolocated footage of smoke over Tehran is the only verified visual we have of the massive campaign. The revenge is coming threat on Press TV is being analyzed frame by security experts. Whatever the outcome, the night of February 28, 2026 will be a chapter in every future history textbook.